Hello, and thanks for joining us on Chicago Tonight. I'm Brandis Friedman. Here's what we're looking at. The standoff in Congress over Homeland Security funding has TSA agents once again working without pay. A look at how they're navigating the situation. A coalition of local leaders from around the Great Lakes plan for the region's future.
So I feel like it means so much to the Latino community to see these stories on stage. Artists.
And why Latino arts organizations are struggling to stay afloat and what's being done about it. First off tonight, dogs spending all day in their cages, euthanasia, and a shortage of volunteers are just some of the complaints about the city's animal care and control facility, and why advocates are calling for a nationwide search to find a new leader.
This is a department that has seen pretty much flat funding, and we realize that this is not a single issue that's happening with the shelter there. The fact that the hours of CACC have been cut so severely puts other departments at risk and burdened as well, such as the Chicago Police Department.
Chicago Animal Care and Control's current executive director, Susan Capello, has been in the role as an interim for the last 3 years. Recently, Mayor Brandon Johnson has chosen her for the job permanently, and City Council is expected to vote on her appointment later this month. But shelter volunteers and animal advocates say a wider search is necessary since serious concerns have remained during Capello's leadership. For more on what Capello told a City Council committee today, visit our website. Hundreds of Chicago officials, attorneys, and leaders are expected to call for a special prosecutor to investigate alleged abuses perpetrated by federal immigration agents during Operation Midway Blitz. Attorneys from the firm Lovey & Lovey say the group is frustrated with Cook County State's Attorney Eileen O'Neill Burke, whose office has yet to charge any federal agents in connection to the immigration raids. Burke's office is pushing back, though, saying a special prosecutor would make it more difficult for her office to secure convictions in those cases, and that she's implemented new protocols to investigate those alleged crimes. The Obama Foundation is looking for a few folks to join its new volunteer program. The volunteers, or ambassadors, will help welcome visitors once the Obama Presidential Center opens this June. Foundation CEO Valerie Jarrett says, quote, "The Obama Presidential Center is a place where the world meets the best of the city of Chicago, and our volunteers will help bring that vision to life every day. Together, we're building something that inspires service, connection, and action far beyond our walls." The first cohort will consist of 75 to 100 people tasked with greeting visitors, giving directions, and providing information on exhibitions and events. Applications are now open. Severe weather is moving through the area this evening and tonight, bringing with it the threat of damaging hail and winds, flash floods, and possible tornadoes south of the I-80 corridor. The National Weather Service of Chicago says the main concern will be large hail, possibly more than 2 inches in diameter, potential flooding, and wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. People south of I-80 are warned to be ready for all severe weather hazards, including tornadoes. Because they can be hard to predict, meteorologists offer this rule of thumb. If it feels like summer outside around 6 or 7 p.m., you're in the danger zone. If it feels chilly out, you're north of the threat. Be safe. Up next, it's been nearly a month since TSA agents were paid. The TSA union official explains how that's affecting the travelers right after this.
Chicago Tonight is made possible in part by the Alexandra and John Nichols family, the Polk Brothers Foundation, and the support of these donors.
Transportation Security Administration agents are caught in the crossfire of a federal debate over reforms to immigration and customs enforcement. It's left agents without pay since February 14th, following the partial government shutdown at the Department of Homeland Security. With congressional Democrats demanding Republicans agree to a set of reforms and no end game in sight, Americans are bracing for spring break season without a fully funded TSA. Joining us via Zoom to discuss the shutdown is Daryl English, a TSA officer at Midway International Airport and president of AFGE's Local 777 union, representing agents in Illinois and Wisconsin. Daryl, welcome back. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
This is not the first time we've had this discussion. TSA agents at Chicago's airports working without pay since that DHS shutdown, partial shutdown, February 14th. How are you and your colleagues navigating this the second time around in just over 3 months?
Well, the officers are having a very hard time getting through this third shutdown that they're going through. This will be the first full pay period that they're going to miss, and a lot of these officers are behind on their bills, mortgages, and all the personal expenses. The last pay that they received, most members only received a few $100s. Some only received $50. So this is going to be devastating this pay period coming up, to miss another full pay period.
As we mentioned, of course, this is a result of the disagreement between the Democrats and the Republicans over Immigrations and Customs Enforcement agent reforms. Do you feel like TSA agents are being used as sort of negotiating pieces by politicians in Washington?
Well, I'm sure it's to a degree that it is. Unfortunately, these officers that we work for, that protects the flying public, don't deserve to be put in this kind of situation. They live paycheck to paycheck. They have family, they have children, and they have careers that they need to do besides protecting the flying public. And to have them in a situation is unfair, and it could cause a harsh kickback if this isn't resolved soon.
There have been reports of some significant slowdowns at airports around the country. So far, Chicago's airports haven't reported those same slowdowns. But is that sustainable for you and your colleagues? At what point do you think we could start to see significant problems?
Well, no, it will impact soon. It will hit Chicago and O'Hare and other airports as well. This is just the beginning part of spring break. This will be their first full pay period that they're missing coming up this Friday. So you'll start definitely seeing officers and the flight loads impacted because of that. Officers don't have the finances to continue to go to work because of the lack of money and resources that they have to assist them. So you will see a breakdown, especially starting next week.
Is there anything that you and your colleagues can do to prepare?
Well, what we've been doing is assisting our members with food, also trying to get carpooling individuals together to work together to help support each other. But again, all these officers are in the same situation. So even though you have a carpooling system, these officers have been doing it, so it's not sustainable because both parties are in the same situation. So eventually, like I said before, this is something that is unsustainable. Something has to be done to fix it. The passengers will have a very long and hard time getting through the security lines, as you've seen in other areas of this country.
How are you and your colleagues viewing the profession going forward? Is this the kind of job now that's too financially unstable to keep up?
Well, that's what a lot of officers are making that critical decision on, being that this is their third shutdown that they had in the last couple of months. Officers are taking a second opinion, a second look at other options, and understanding that their family and their livelihood is more important than to be caught in between the political issues that may go back and forth between individuals. So we are seeing people looking at other avenues, possibly moving to something that's more sustainable, something that's more reliable than being a part of the federal government as we see it today.
Have you all received any communications from DHS officials or federal officials related to all of this?
No, we've talked to some. I talked to some politicians regarding it, and they had their concerns about what's going on. They felt the same way that a lot of these officers are feeling, that they know that they're going through a lot of hardship. But at the end of the day, nothing's being done to prevent this from happening moving forward.
Before we let you go, Daryl, you and your colleagues, you all got back pay from the last government shutdown, but I understand it took some officers up until January to receive that back pay. Is that right?
That's correct. There's a big misconception that people were getting that once the government was open, everybody get reimbursed all their money that they were due all of a sudden, all at one time. Just recently, maybe about 2 or 3 weeks ago, officers were made whole from the October situation that occurred. So this is another thing that's bothering officers.
So it's taking some time to be made whole, and then another shutdown hits them. That's why we'll have to leave it. Daryl English, best of luck to you and your colleagues. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Take care.
Up next, local leaders plan for the future of the Great Lakes. The Great Lakes provide water to hundreds of cities and tribal nations, from Chicago to Duluth to Toronto. Local leaders from across this region are realizing they have a lot in common and are joining together to advocate for their shared needs and resources. The Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Cities Initiative is a multinational coalition of city and local leaders dedicated to supporting the region. Last week, a group of these mayors visited D.C. to bring their priorities to the national stage. Among the issues they advocated for are renewal of the Clean Water State Revolving Fund, which provides financing for lead pipe removal, shoreline protection, invasive species control, and economic development across the Great Lakes region. So joining us now are Sam Cunningham, the mayor of far north suburban Waukegan, Randy Connor, commissioner of the Chicago Department of Water Management, and John Altenberg, president and CEO of the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Cities Initiative. Thanks to the three of you for joining us.
Thank you.
So Mayor Cunningham, I want to start with you, please. You all went to D.C. last week, met with politicians on both sides of the aisle about some of these issues. What makes Great Lakes management a bipartisan issue?
Well, I think if you take a look at 84% of the surface fresh water in the North American region is part of us. Having an understanding that makes it clear that we cannot take for granted that this water cannot be protected by any means. And having all those legislators with the Great Lakes are part of their region, it was clear to me that they understood that this must be not just a bipartisan issue, but an issue that protects the region as a whole. So it was exciting to be there for that.
Commissioner Connor, what does Chicago have in common with cities like Waukegan when it comes to Great Lakes management?
You know, so the greatest part about this is that we all have some of the same issues, whether it's funding, whether some of the major projects that we're trying to do. But the greatest thing that we have in common is trying to protect the Great Lakes. The Great Lakes not only deliver water for our cities, but it also contributes to work. It contributes to jobs, contributes to the economy. For all of the times that if you take the Great Lakes and you shut the water off for 24 hours, it will be devastating. You're talking just in the hospitality industry alone, you're talking probably close to $2 billion a day that will be lost, right? So the idea would be to kind of make sure that we protect it and make sure that we're doing everything we can to ensure that that source stays there.
Mayor Cunningham, did federal lawmakers that you spoke with last week, did they seem like they were listening to the local concerns that you were bringing? Being a local leader, did you feel like you had the ear of the federal people?
I did. I think there was a sense of understanding that this fresh, essential, critical water is a need that all Americans across this country needs. They're just, the plain fact, I saw more of an essential need and make that importance for us, meaning the locals, to be there. To be honest, they were more excited to see us local mayors and those who represent the Great Lakes, and I think they were a little shocked that we were that.
Sort of shocked by your the coalition, right?
Well,
like
they were shocked, but not only by the coalition, by the fact that we knew so much and how much it meant to us and the passion that we have. So that inspired me more than anything else. But the answer to your question, they definitely were excited to see us.
John Altenberg, I want to get you in here because the relationship between the United States and Canada, it has shifted under the Trump administration. Does the work that you do, does that affect the work that you do with local governments?
Oh, it certainly does. We have an integrated economy. We have $19.8 billion worth of trade annually come out of Illinois that are exports to Canada. Thousands and thousands of jobs that are at stake here in the U.S. and in Illinois. Our mayors cannot sit idle and not worry about trade between the two countries. They have the same at threat. So yes, it's extremely important. And the difference between the rest of the country and here in the Great Lakes is that we're an integrated economy. Businesses, there's a bus company that's just across the border in Canada where that bus that get manufactured goes across 20 times. You can't tax it every time that it goes across the border. So our integrated economy is essential, so it causes great complication.
What impact have tariffs had on the economy of the region?
I mean, it's evolving. You've seen the cost of living that's gone up tremendously, right? The cost of products and services that are gone up. We have industry products that are being taken off the shelf in Canada. You can't buy certain beverages, alcoholic beverages that are produced here in the United States and on Canadian shelves anymore. So it's really starting to hurt us, and it's hurting the auto industry. It's hurting a number of economic indicators.
Commissioner, how might federal policy impact Chicago's lead service line replacement effort, which we know is already far behind where I think a lot of folks would like for it to be?
So we depend on federal funding for a lot of the work that we do, and we have to make sure we continue the fight. This year alone, just for the city of Chicago, we need for the state of Illinois, over $234 million just to be able to stay on pace with replacing lead service lines. At this point, we're probably only getting, the state of Illinois is probably only getting about 5% of what we would normally get in the past, which is about a little bit more than $500 million.
Okay. John, the initiative balances environmental protection and economic development of the Great Lakes region. How do these goals relate to each other?
Well, in the long term, we have to protect this over 80% of the North America's water, over 20% of the world's water that it's in our region. So it's onus upon us to protect the Great Lakes and the fresh water. And we have an economic strategy to turn our economy into what we call the Fresh Coast Economic Corridor. With climate changing, with temperatures that are going to exceed 120, 125 degrees in Phoenix, if you're Intel and you're manufacturing in Phoenix and you don't have access to fresh water, you don't, and the energy that's going to be needed to produce to keep those factories cool, you're going to move into this region. We know this is going to happen over the next 10 years, and our plan is to bring over 17 million new jobs to our region and over 500,000 new industries. But if we don't do it right, we're going to have the same situation that it was in the last turn of the last century when we faced Cuyahoga River right outside of Cleveland was in flames because we didn't take care of our fresh water, and then the economic boom became a bust. So they're absolutely essential that we need to make sure the right industries move here. And so economy and environment are tied hand in hand.
Mayor Cunningham, what have you learned from other mayors who are also part of this initiative that you can bring back to Waukegan?
I think what I've learned is that people working across the aisles happens often than we think. Taking that information back to our local communities, whether it be from mayors from east side of me and county and state leaders, hey, we need to keep our voice strong, unified, collaborative, to understand that if we take our messaging and get it to the right people throughout DC, they will then transition and make the funding efforts that's needed so this region can continue to prosper as it's supposed to be.
Commissioner, as surrounding communities outside the Great Lakes Basin, they start to look towards Lake Michigan for water, what's the responsibility of the city of Chicago to ensure long-term stewardship of that resource?
So what I love about, the city of Chicago is that we have great partners, even with people outside of the basin itself. And what we try to do is make sure that we are giving water and providing water to everybody who needs it. The reality is that investing in water infrastructure is not only an investment in Illinois, it's an investment in Chicago, it's an investment in in Detroit, it's an investment everywhere because we're all drawing from the same water source. So I think, again, as Mayor said, they're working across the aisles, understanding what that looks like, understanding how much funding is coming in, things of that nature, is how we're going to be able to provide water.
All right, that's where we'll have to leave it. My thanks to the three of you, Waukegan Mayor Sam Cunningham, John Altenberg of the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Cities Initiative, and Commissioner Randy Connor. Thanks, everybody. Up next, a look at how Latino arts organizations are navigating funding challenges. Latino artists are an important part of Chicago's cultural scene, yet their organizations often lag behind other groups for federal and philanthropic funding. From theater companies to museum exhibitions, many struggle to sustain their work. In partnership with Northwestern University's Medill School of Journalism, Chicago Tonight explores how some philanthropic foundations are experimenting with longer-term funding to address this disparity.
It's not like I'm going to stop making art. I'm like, it's embedded in my culture, so I can't stop.
Chicago is known for its diversity, its people, its stories, and its art. For actor Kidani Camilo, performing on stage is an act of cultural expression. But as Latino artists continue creating their work, supporting organizations face federal funding cuts and shrinking philanthropic support. Destino Chicago International Latino Theater Festival is an initiative helping to close the gap. The festival is organized by the Chicago Latino Theater Alliance, or CLATA.
So CLATA was founded based on the idea of providing visibility and helping uplift Latino theaters and our stories on major stages across the city, both major stages and across different communities throughout Chicago.
According to a 2025 report by the University of Illinois Chicago Great Cities Institute, Latinos make up about 30% of the city and the majority of CPS students. Yet, only around 6% of philanthropic arts funding is directed toward Latino arts. This year, CLATA awarded a $10,000 grant to Vision Latino Theater Company to stage Las Borinqueñas, a play set in Puerto Rico.
What an honor to be able to share that experience with them and have them in the audience. It's just like very endearing. So I feel like it means so much to the Latino community to see these stories on stage, to hear this history that has been kind of like hidden away.
At the federal level, the National Endowment for the Arts awarded 424 grants to Chicago organizations between 2020 and 2024, but only 31, or about 7.3% of those grants went to Latino arts or communities. Elena Gonzalez, curator of the Aquí in Chicago exhibition at the Chicago History Museum, says even a major institution like hers struggles to secure consistent federal support.
It was a challenging situation trying to arrange for the funding of this exhibition, and then as we worked on starting the building of the project, actually, our federal funding was terminated from the federal government, and then part of it was reinstated.
Gonzalez says without adequate funding, many Latino arts organizations may lose the opportunity to showcase their work. She warns that a future without strong art support could limit cultural expression and creativity for future generations in and beyond the Chicago area. Those who support Latino arts say the root of the problem lies in who holds the financial purse strings. Organizations like the Paul M. Angel Foundation, who funds CLATA, agree.
There aren't large funders who are Latino for groups to be going to. So that means they're having to speak to power that does not look like them, represent them.
The Paul M. Angel Foundation is shifting its approach, moving away from short-term grants and investing more in helping organizations sustain their work for the long term.
Those are strategies that we can help them with, gaining assets, keeping funding unrestricted so that they can utilize the dollars how they see fit to try to keep them secure for the future.
Yeah, we've grown our general operating from 2024 to 2025 from being like, I want to say it was like 30-something% of our grants given in 2024 to over 50% were general operating grants this year, and then multi-year it grew even more.
For WTTW News and Northwestern's Medill School of Journalism, I'm Juliana Proctor.
The Aquí in Chicago exhibition runs at the Chicago History Museum through November. You can read more about Latino arts funding on our website. And we're back to wrap things up right after this.
Reflecting the people and perspectives that make up our communities, this story is part of Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices.
And that's our show for this Tuesday night. Be sure to sign up for our free email newsletter, The Daily Chicagoan, at WTTW.com/newsletter. And join us tomorrow night at 5:30 and 10. The Chicago Stock Exchange Building, the Yukon Building, and Pope Leo XIV's childhood home are among the area's most endangered sites. We examine the list. Now, for all of us here at Chicago Tonight, I'm Brandis Friedman. Thank you for watching. Stay healthy and safe, and have a good night.
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, a Chicago personal injury and wrongful death firm with more than 40 years of experience in medical malpractice.